Hey, good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday morning to you, and welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. It's good to be back with you here on Tuesday. As you know, I did not produce a video yesterday, did not come to the office at all. I had spoken to the police spokesman here in town. There was a very strong rumor that we were supposed to have 9 busloads of out-of-state protesters bent on violence that were supposed to come to our town. You know, some people have asked me, well, why in the world Ardmore, Oklahoma? Well, if you are bent on destruction and mayhem, then why not choose a relatively small town like Ardmore? You know, to my knowledge, there have been very, very good race relations here in Ardmore over the years. I know that I certainly have very good relations with the African American citizens here of Ardmore that I know personally. No issues whatsoever. It's just a sad state of affairs in which we have radical political activists whose one desire is to destroy the very fabric of American society, to destabilize our country. Organizations such as Antifa, who care absolutely nothing about social justice, but they are bent on destroying America and everything that it stands for. And yeah, now, while I have no information whatsoever that it was them that was organizing or supposedly organizing the protest here in Ardmore, they certainly are doing so in other regions of the country. This is a horrific situation, and, you know, there are justifiable protests taking place in a lot of places. What I saw on that video, now, I haven't watched every moment of every video because obviously they have not released that. But what I saw on that video was murder. And there's no justification for that. And by the way, several police departments around the nation have joined in with that chorus. They have said what happened has no place in America. So I hope that justice is done. We do not and we cannot have abuse of power by the police toward any ethnic group. Doesn't matter. There needs to be equal justice, fairness for every single human in America. And my heart just ached when I watched that video several times. And that's Don Preston's political or social comment for the day. That's all I'll comment on that at the moment. So, we have finished our discussion of Matthew chapter 24 and verse 35, in which Jesus said, "Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away." And I've demonstrated that in context, Jesus absolutely was not predicting the destruction of literal, physical heaven and earth. We come now to what some have called the, quote, continental divide of Matthew 24. And, pardon me, the reason that these commentators call it a divide is because of their presuppositional view that in Matthew 24 and verse 3, the disciples were asking about 2 things. Number 1, the fall of Jerusalem. Tell us, when shall these things be? Then it is believed and insisted and taught they were asking about another entirely unrelated question. And what shall be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? Because, you see, it is assumed, and this is in 99% of the commentators, it is assumed that the apostles were confused. They inappropriately, they ignorantly, number 1, believed in the end of time. Number 2, they ignorantly conflated the prediction of the fall of Jerusalem with the end of the current age, our age, the Christian age. Well, I've asked this question many times before, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you'll think about this. what age did that temple represent? That temple did not symbolize the new covenant age of Jesus. It represented the old covenant age of Moses and the law. And so we have to ask the question, why would the apostles, when Jesus predicted the destruction of that temple, why would the apostles think about the end of the Christian age? That's the issue here. But once again, we are told in virtually all commentators, now there are certainly some great exceptions to the rule, but we are told that since the apostles asked about both the destruction of Jerusalem and the end of time, the end of the Christian age, that Jesus in Matthew 24 verses 1 to 35 or 1 through 34 discussed the impending fall of Jerusalem that would occur in that generation. But then we are told in verse 36 where it says, "But of that day and hour knows no man." Mark's version says, "No, not the angels, not the Son, but the Father only." Since Jesus said, "But of that day and hour," that supposedly draws a contrast between the former discussion and what follows verse 36. And thus we are told, this is the position of such men as Kenneth Gentry and others, we are told that verse 36 and following, as just suggested, is a prediction and a description and a warning of the yet future to you and me, end of time, end of the world, coming of the Lord. So we are going to investigate Matthew 24 verse 36 in detail. It is critical because here's the point. You know, folks, stated very, very simply, if Matthew chapter 24 and verse 36 is not the great continental divide of the Olivet Discourse, if Matthew 24:36 is a continuation and an emphasis of what Jesus has been saying previously, then Matthew 24 and 25 is not a divided discourse, and that means that the entirety of the discourse is about the impending end of the Old Covenant age and Christ's coming in judgment in the glory of the Father at the end of that Old Covenant age. It means that 99% of the commentators who assume, without any proof, who assume that the apostles were asking two separate, distinct questions about two disparate events to take place at two radically different and separated points of time, it means that that assumption is false. And of course, on the reverse of that, if the commentators are wrong and the apostles were not asking about two such events, then Matthew 24 verse 36 is not a division of discussion of two separate events. This study, really, in a lot of ways, is foundational to a proper understanding of the entire Olivet Discourse. So tomorrow, we're going to begin digging into what did Jesus mean when he said, "But of that day and hour knows no man, not the angels, not the Son, but the Father only." Was Jesus, in fact, putting up a red flag of warning saying, okay, everything I'm about to say after this refers to the future, the far off future, the end of time, the end of the Christian age, so pay attention? Or was Jesus saying, you can know that the things that I've been predicting will happen in this generation, verse 34. but you do not know the day or the hour. I'll see you on the flip side.